I had this idea of like what it meant to operate inside of a museum and institution and also be outside of it at the same time. I was very intrigued by the term rendition, which obviously has two very distinct meanings. The more familiar one is like in a musical rendition. Jazz, black music in particular, is about, interpreting given. But also more recent uses of the term rendition is as a kind of euphemism for what they term black sites. Sites where people operate outside of legal parameters of what is and isn't allowed inside of Geneva Convention. So I was very interested in the idea of a black site being both a space where untold, horrific things could happen, but at the same time, an emancipatory space. Black genius, so to speak, is intensified exponentially by the presence of other black genius, and it's really about trying to operate outside of kind of narrow notions of ego, drive, and all sorts of things. So yeah, domination and drive is part of it, but it's not domination and drive in the sense of pressing other people down. It's like, oh yeah, I want you to jump high so I can jump higher than you. It's not like, I want to jump higher than you so I'm gonna trip you up. You know what I mean? Ming Smith is, in my opinion, the greatest Afro-American photographer ever. What she's been able to do in her ability to both create blur and precision, definition at the same time, is unparalleled. I've sort of arrived at my own version of it, but what she has is not just a technical understanding. It's like a singer who's got perfect pitch. When black people were brought to the Americas, at least in the West, we were not human beings. We're not understood to be human beings. We're understood to be things. So in a sense, we've kind of evolved this very complicated relationship to the life of things, meaning we're neither subjects in the classic sense of a Western formulation, but neither are we objects. What Robert Farris Thompson pointed out in African Art in Motion is that this artifact that in a Western context is a thing and just sits on a pedestal, in its natal context, more often than not, moves around the subject as much as the subject moves around the object. So it creates this complicated tension between what is the center and what is, on the margins. And that complicated relationship produces a blur. And that blur is what you see manifested so beautifully in Ming's work.
I've always been interested in how other artists inspire other artists, like Lamar Bearden and August Wilson. This series was from Pittsburgh, and this was where August Wilson drew his inspiration, is the Hill District of Pittsburgh. The folks he wrote about, his plays, are about the regular folks. A lot of the photographs show just ordinary people and the struggle, but yet the love and the humanity of the black community. Jazz, hip hop, all the different dances of hip hop, and huge industries. Regardless of all the things that were happening, great cultural contributions to the world came out of the pain.
Frida, she has the most brilliant Instagram feed on the face of the earth. Nimi Piba, N-E-M-I-E-P-E-B-A. I deny anybody to show me an Instagram feed thread that's more mesmerizing than hers. That's how I came to know her work. I feel like with your sort of visual dexterity and really genius really is what she has. It would be great if we could see this manifest itself in 3D space as well.
My name is Frida Orupabo, and I'm standing in front of two of my work that is called Keeping It Together. They grew out of small collages that I make. I blew them up and I stuck them together. So this is the first time I have blown up my collages, which is really this size. I'm also running an Instagram page since 2013. I gather photos and I also mix them with my collages. I really enjoyed the first time I experienced Instagram, the way you put the pieces together, different image, and you are creating different narratives that is always changing.
The whole idea is that there's going to be a constantly evolving stream of motion picture stuff that's going to be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. I want to, in a sense, allow myself the space to let the pieces sort of exist in public without pressure. I think so much of what we, and by we I mean black folks, are doing is negotiating the space of power and symmetry. So When a person in jazz stands up and takes a solo, does an improvisation, before it's a artistic gesture, it's a philosophical gesture, because what they're doing is like demonstrating their self-determinacy. In other words, they're not taking the text and playing it the way the composer said it's supposed to be played. And what precedes self-determinacy is self-possession, which is like the central issue for black folks.